Hi, today we're releasing a new product for AdLibertas audience reporting. This specifically is audience filters. Now, what audience filters do is allow you to filter in or filter out a specific group of users depending on how much they earn. For instance, you have a group of users, let's say Android users in the US who have installed recently and played 3 games. That's your audience. You want to analyze just the top 10% of these users. We have the ability to move my face here, filter in just the top 10% or 5% or whatever percent you want. The next one we could do is the bottom percentiles. You want to identify why users are churning or leaving your app quickly. You can focus on the behaviors and the events that the users in the bottom quartile or bottom percentage of chosen are earning and what they're doing, what their behaviors look like. And of course, last is removing the outliers. If you want to get a more confident measurement on future earnings and you want to remove the outliers, in this case, remove the top 5%, the top 2.5% and the bottom 2.5% of earnings to focus just on the second standard deviation of earners, you can do that by filtering out those performers. Now, we could jump into a lot of examples. I'm going to walk through one today, real world example, which is we have Android users and we're going to focus on the top 10% to see how that impacts my overall earnings and see if I can identify those users early. So the first thing is I've got my filter here, or I've got my audience here in audience reporting, which is the absolute date range of ad revenue for Android users. Now I can focus on the top 10% by hitting this toggle here, and you'll see that you've got the top 10% of earners. Now, if I want to look at like the overall impact of my app for this number of users, I can choose cumulative total revenue. Let's get my face out of the way again. And I can see what cumulative total revenue does compared to my top 10% of my users. So I've got $57,000 earned over a 30-day time period for my total audience. And I've got a $35,000 earnings over 30 days from my top 10%. So roughly 40% of my earnings comes from 10% of my users. And we focus in onto the LTV, that is the lifetime value of the users individually. You'll see that the top 10% earn $13.2 over 30 days, whereas the entire audience looks at an LTV of $1.88 over 30 days. So a very significant impact, a very significant difference. Now, the next most obvious thing you're going to want to do is identify who are these top 10 users very, very quickly. So let's switch this report to a relative report, which basically means that we change the bottom axis to the day since install. So if you can see a great one is impressions per user per day. You'll see the number of impressions per user per day per the day of install. Now, let's look. This app has shuffle hints, which are hints offered to the end users on puzzles completed. And in this case, 4.5, the average number of shuffle hints used on day 0 or 4.5. And if we flip it to the top 10%, you'll see that you've got a whopping 15 per day. So it's very likely if someone hits 15 shuffle hints on the first day, they're going to be in this top 10%. Let's also look at the event count of puzzles complete. The top 10% is completing 41 puzzles. So this is a game where you complete puzzles, and on the first day, 41 complete in the top 10%, whereas the average user completes it in 14.5 or completes 14.5 puzzles. So a very good way of identifying user early. There's plenty of other applications for the bottom 10% or the bottom N%, as well as filtering out the outliers and focusing on very conservative LTV forecasts. But read our blog post if you want to know more information. Other than that, contact us for a demo and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thanks much.